Moreland, farther away.
Nice to see you all again.
Always nice to see you. Dennis and Eleanor, morning. Chris from across the waves.
Hi, Scott.
Velda, this side of the waves. Ken.
Good morning.
And Donna, hoping to not be making any waves. Good morning, Donna.
Good morning. Not yet. Soon enough. I'll be on the water.
Catherine, hello.
Good morning.
Jill, hello. John and Ann, welcome back from your traveling. And you're heading out again, I understand. Can't stop you.
I'm good. Yeah, good news travels fast, Scott.
Oh, very good, very good. Betty Henderson, lovely to see you. It would be lovely to hear you, but we just see you. Your greeting was there you go.
I just said it was nice to see Ann and John. I hope they had a good holiday.
We did, thank you.
Good.
Your attendance is slacking off again. You realize that?
Yes, we realised that we've reverted.
Oh dear. Don Francis, good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Good to see you. Good morning, Mere Campers. We salute you.
Hi.
Hello, everybody.
Been a while.
Good to see you. Doug and an empty spot for Kathy.
She's a coming.
She's a coming. Good.
Gotta get some clothes on.
Oh, well, thank you for that. Thank you for insisting on that with your partner. Yes.
It's a rule.
It's a rule. Well, it's a good Zoom rule. It doesn't have to be a home rule if you like. I'm seeing David coming to light there. Hello, David.
Hello. He's attempting to get some light on himself.
Light
Yes.
on him. Mary from farther away, but right with us here. Lovely.
Morning.
Nothing you have just said was recorded. Everything now
Yep.
will be recorded for posterity.
Who is posterity?
He's an Anglican bishop that reviews our Zoom calls and either files them away or broadcasts them to the world.
Thank you for the clarification, Scott. I thought it was something that one sat upon.
Those recordings didn't work out too well for President Nixon.
No, they did not. They did not. Well, hopefully we are above reproach in any way at all. I'm looking at the time and I'm seeing Deb Ellis in blue, almost tie-dyed. That looks like a tie-dyed blue. How lovely. Please welcome us into the, well, we've already been welcoming, but welcome us more.
Okay, I will. Good morning, everybody. It's so funny because I just realized when I like my face must be totally filling your screen. So I will try and sit back here, but it's because I'm trying to be closer to you.
You can be close. The close is nice.
Yeah, but you need to see more than just my eyeballs staring at you. At least I think you do. Anyway, good morning and welcome, everybody. And good morning.
Good morning.
Just while everybody's getting settled in, your weekly Zoom reminders, although we've just had one, a la Doug and Kathy. Just a reminder that when you have your camera on, we can see you and we can see the other people in the background also. And the other thing, of course, is to just try and remember to stay muted unless you're actually intending to be speaking in that moment. For anybody who's new, my name's Deb Ellis, and I've been a member at Westhill. I was thinking yesterday, I think it's over 23 years now.
Wow.
Like maybe a long, yeah, it might be a long time or old timer or whatever they call it. I don't know. And I have the pleasure of being the reader this morning. So As we come together, of course, we always begin our service by acknowledging the land that we're on. I have to say that it's getting harder and harder for me to do that. It's feeling a little bit, I don't know, paltry, I guess, in the face of the information that has been coming out. And so I share this acknowledgement in that context, and with a heavier heart and a grief and a desire to figure out how to do better. So that said, we begin our service by acknowledging that West Hill is on the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the New Credit First Nations lands, which lands were previously occupied by the Seneca and the Huron-Wendat First Nations. This place is and will always be home to Indigenous peoples. Let us acknowledge the mistakes and the horrors of the past and support true reconciliation in the present by engaging and celebrating the Indigenous community and moving forward together with kindness and respect. And of course, for those of you who are joining us from somewhere else in the world, we invite you to do the same, to find out about the history and the culture of the Indigenous brothers and sisters in your area. Welcome to those of you who are in Scarborough and Ontario and all across Canada and the United States and South Africa and the UK and wherever else in the world that you are, from where you are joining us. And we're happy to have you here. I was thinking that, you know, as the freedoms of vaccination are realized and as the summer comes, we may see fewer faces on for a few weeks. So it's a thrill to have everybody here who is here, and we remember those who are off on vacations, and we know that they're with us in spirit. Yesterday we celebrated Rob's parents' 50th anniversary, their 50th wedding anniversary. And of course, it was initially supposed to be a big deal with his sister flying in from South Africa and, you know, a big gathering, but of course that couldn't happen. So
Are you joining? Because I can turn the volume. Whoops.
Good morning.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. I was like, yeah, I'm joining. I'm here.
No, my
I'm joining. Anyway, so yeah, so it was just, there were 10 of us, and it was just lovely to see, you know, this group of people reminiscing and connecting and sharing that time together. And so, you know, they had each taken those hours out of their lives to do that. And so I invite you this morning to do similarly with this family and this group of friends, to take this time out to be here and to share and to enjoy the service together and reconnect and be inspired by what Scott has to share with us, which is always interesting and inspiring and edifying. So welcome. And this is where we would share any announcements. I haven't had any come to me yet, but just those of you who might want to make an announcement, if you want to raise your hand. And it's also the time when we recognize and express our appreciation for all the volunteers who, you know, put in their time and their talents, and the staff who are putting hours and hours of work in. And so if you want to support the work of West Hill, then we invite you to connect with the office and offer up whatever it is that you want to contribute to this community, financially or in terms of your time or talents, etc. So are there any announcements? Oh, I see Barb. Go ahead.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Just a couple of things. I wanted to update the congregation and our participants on Tina, our refugee who is coming to Canada, with the West Hill being one of the groups that is sponsoring her to come to Canada for a new start. She had been in jail for 2 months. They had reached out to her for contact and hadn't heard from her in 3 or 4 weeks. So the concern was what has happened to Tina. So we have recently heard that she was in jail for 2 months, was badly beaten, and is not presently well. She also has no communication. She has no cell phone. So there is two things. There is money available for her to get a cell phone. And also we have the committee and other West Hill people and other interests in helping Tina have reached out to the various groups, committees, counselors, embassies to help us get her back here safely. And that is an ongoing process. And we wish to have everyone remember Tina in her plight and her circumstance, and all others who find themselves discriminated against because of their status. So in this, our time of need,
Love abound. Love abound.
the other thing I wanted to do is wanted to update the group on a couple of people. There's an in-touch team that are with about 6 people on it, and simply they phone and say hi to people we haven't seen on Zoom or recently heard of. And so we want to just make sure that everyone is doing well. So this team has about 40 or 45 people that they call regularly just to say hi, how are you doing?
Wow.
And a couple of people, Colette Heck, you remember Colette, she lived in Claremont and she was a great help during the bazaar. And anyway, she has moved, couldn't get a hold of her. She has moved to Richmond Hill. And she's so delighted to be remembered by West Hill and that she is doing well. One of the things we want to make sure is that there's family support for these people. And Emily, our Emily Travers is back. She had a month-long course out in BC. In June, she is back, and she wanted you to know that she's doing well. So in this abundant blessing,
We share the joy.
Here's the joy.
Deb, I just wanted to jump in there. Barb, you gave a wonderful summary of what's been done to find Tina and to support her. I just wanted to add that when you were talking with me on the phone about what you had done so far, the list was long and showed a great deal of perseverance on your part to keep phoning, to keep trying another source. And we all know how difficult that is to get a hold of people and the right people. So I was amazed at what you had done so far. And I know you're going to add that to the team, but I just want to say to the folks that we appreciate what you've done to track our dear Tina. And when she hears of all that, it's a real message of the whole time she was in prison. We were caring about her, trying to find her, trying to support her. And that's a great message, a very personal message. So thank you for all you did and do for that, Barb.
thank you, Scott, but it is not deserved. Honestly.
I know.
It is Mike Laurie who's taken the ball because of our Greta having to step down. So there's a group of us, and I know everybody here is willing to stand up and help. So thank you.
Some people are masters at deflection, and I just wanted to say that, yes, it is a shared responsibility, but I was particularly thanking you for all you did.
Thank you, Scott. And I was thinking the same about this group of people who is phoning. I won't put you on the spot, Barb, to name them today, but at some point to say thank you to that group of people for doing that outreach, making those phone calls and on behalf of West Hill. And so I wanted to say thank you for that. Are there any other announcements?
I can tell you right now who they are.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
I hope I don't forget anyone. Wendy Highland, Linda Strange, who stepped back a bit for the time being, Ruth Gill, June Dixon, and we have Morlyn Reese in Ottawa, but still helping. Thank you to Zoom, and Kevin Jackson and myself. And I hope I haven't forgotten anyone. Oh my goodness. Oh yes, of course. Betty Henderson and Belda.
Yeah.
Are two that look after our Marians and our Dorothys of the world. Thank you.
Thank you all. It's part of being a family. So it's appreciated.
Yeah, if I could step in.
Yes, yep.
Thank you. It's Mike Lurie on behalf of
Yeah.
the board. We had our last board meeting, I think it was June the 8th, and there will be a recess until September. But there had been a lapse in our planned leadership training for board members. And part of that was a delayed response from Tom Armour. We are trying to restart that and to make that happen, and we'll communicate with the board group that can start the leadership training program with a view to action plan contributing to strategic planning to start that whole process in motion. As always, I am happy to communicate via email, telephone, Zoom, etc. Drop me a line or give a call. And if you have questions, concerns, or issues, would really appreciate hearing from you. Thanks, Deb.
Thanks, Mike. Anybody else wanting to make an announcement? Okay, then I'll turn it over to Scott.
The theme of the day has a concrete theme and then an abstract theme. The concrete part of it is just very specifically the plant, the grass called bamboo. And if you read the little blurb in the e-blast, it's a way to talk about creativity, sustainability, renewability, poverty alleviation, innovation, everything to do with what we care about here. And so I'm using it as the particular theme to talk about in three aspects. I want to focus in on the idea of being interconnected with life in terms of the planet and how sustainability and creativity and innovation and renewability helps our planet in all the ways we can learn. And if you know everything I'm going to share with you today because you've read up on this, then it's a chance to celebrate it and affirm it. If it's new to you, I hope some of it just inspires you to say, oh my goodness, what a lot of wonderful things are happening for our planet. And the other part is for people. So the planet and for people. And often, as we say, to live with justice and compassion for others, particularly in some ways, others we'll never meet. And we're going to look at a lot of people we will probably never meet and what they're doing to care for others, to care for food, to care for poverty, to care for the planet together. So for people, the idea of renewability, renewing and sustaining life, good life. And then the last part just happened to be a nice Baptist alliteration of planet, people, and personal. And the personal part is jumping away from the concrete idea and the technical and the particulars and the practicals into our own life and what that means about sustainability of ourselves and renewal and what that takes. And I'm just going to draw some ideas from what sustains and renews about bamboo for our own life. And I've asked Deb when she does our first reading will be about that planet and the sustainable and renewable about the planet. And then I've asked her to join the perspectives portion, and we're going to look at ideas that help us. Riffing off of that idea of bamboo. So the idea of being guided by love will come out in that renewal and sustainability for each other and for ourselves. And then the growing in wisdom is that every time we pick up another way of looking at something, and one of the quotes is a brilliant idea of shaking up our fixed ideas and letting some air and light in to think differently about others, about the planet, about others, and about ourselves. So grounded in life and guided by love and growing in wisdom. I'm going to ask Peter to share with us a song that Babette recorded about that idea of living beyond ourselves for others and for our planet. You're welcome to join in, but if you could sing, if you wish to sing, please do, but please sing on mute, which is no comment on your skill. if you heard that little glitch, that was on purpose, because it's to illustrate that sometimes it takes a while to get back on your feet again. You see, so that gap in the music, I don't know if you heard the gap, but I heard a gap. So maybe it's just me that takes a while to get back on my feet again. So anyway, thank you, Babette. Thank you, Peter. For
Actually,
that
Scott,
music.
Scott, that gap was my fault totally.
Oh, Peter has prevented us getting back on our feet as quickly as we might have. Yes,
Exactly. It
thank
wasn't
you.
your fault, Scott.
Thank you for that. You know, it did occur to me once, and I'm open, absolutely open to feedback on this. But when we were all together in the room here, there was a great deal of banter and kidding that would go on, all within, you know, respectful tones and meanings. Not all the time, just once in a while. And that was just part of our family being together. If you're new on Zoom and you in any way think that it's not, you know, you're wondering about the humor that's here, please mention it or comment on it. Other than that, just enjoy it, because it's all with good heart and good fun and back and forth and quite mutual. So that's part of being a family. A little more awkward on Zoom, but quite enjoyable. And I think it's an important part of us being together like this, that we can do that. So the sharing time is, for some people, one of the most important times together. And it means that we're thinking of things that matter and people that matter together. You can have done everything we do on your own during the week. Hope you do. But this is the together time for that. And what we do first off is we mention just a couple of places. We're not intending to fill the whole list. And if something doesn't get mentioned, doesn't mean it's not important to us, but just a few places, people, organizations, movements that are oppressed, that are troubled, that are going without their rights, that are going without food and without basic clean air, all these things that oppress, and some of which we experience, but certainly not as much as many people as well. So just unmute for a moment and mention a place, a person, an organization, an issue that is struggling right now.
The condo in Florida.
St. Francis Nagajama Hospital in Uganda.
Mm.
To which all the people that want vaccinations and can't get them.
Madagascar.
The long haulers with experiencing COVID symptoms long after many.
Indigenous peoples.
And we could go on, and there's so much, and it's so heavy, and we'll be going to talk about that later. And that's why it's so important to be actively involved in sustaining and renewal of our life, of our planet, and our life and ourselves. In this, our time of need, may love abound.
May love abound.
And now you're welcome as part of a family, even if you've just popped on new today, to share anything personal. It can be something great, something, a milestone, something wonderful in your life or the life of someone you know, or it could be something heavy and grievous and difficult of a worry, because it all matters. And don't ever hesitate to bring something hard, because we truly do want to know. And want to share it. And if it means something to you to have shared it with a group like this, please do. And if it seems like, why would they want to hear about my anniversary or my birthday? We do. So anything at all personal you'd like to share, you're quite welcome to do so.
I'd like to share something this morning.
Yes, Mel.
And besides what I want to share, I want to also share that my family has a very good sense of humor as well. And since Frank, my friend, is having a birthday, I would like to read this card. Someone very nice is having a birthday today. That's tomorrow is Frank's birthday. So someone extremely wonderful is sending you this card.
Lovely. Happy birthday, Frank.
That's my sister's humor. Anyway.
Yeah, tomorrow's 86. And I'm in very good health. I still play golf. I'm looking forward to curling. But one thing I'm having difficulty with is keeping up with Mel. She's a very, very busy person, and she keeps me moving. So thanks to Mel for that.
We understand if we know Mel. Yes, quite. Our sympathy, Frank. Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Scott, I just want, and everyone, just to let you know that Michael has finished his term as district governor for the Rotary. So he, well, as of the end of this month, which is very close, the official things have passed by. So he'll have a little more church time, time to do some of the other things. But it's been a very, very busy year, and Michael did a lot of work for Rotary, and it was a very successful year despite COVID. So that's our celebration for this week. Thanks.
Congratulations. We keep bumping into Rotary installations all over and the work they do medically. So congratulations, Mike, for that. And also, I would suggest on Louise's part, she sent me an email separately and said, could you please say that this will be more Louise time as well, not just more church time. No, she didn't actually send that email, but we encourage that as well. She's good to hang around with. Yeah, and she's right there in your house. So congratulations, both of you, because you both served and supported that. Anyone else sharing a difficulty, a good thing, something you'd like to share with a group?
Hi, me, Scott.
You, Barb.
Yeah, me. I don't usually do this much talking, do I? Two things. First of all, on Thursday, our grandson, our eldest one, who's just 14, he, by the way, got his second COVID shot yesterday. So that's amazing. Thank you, Province of Ontario. He graduated from grade 8, and the school, this goes for all the schools. They have bent over backwards to help these graduates have a good day. And it was all scheduled individually, and he got to walk down the hall. It was all decorated. All of the VP and principal and his teachers were there. They had a beautiful place where you could take pictures very safely. 15 minutes or 20 minutes. What a great, great celebration. I just wanted a heads up to all the staff who have, and admin who've put that together for the kids. The second thing is that, one of the things I'm doing is sending out birthday greetings, cards or e-cards. But if I don't know your birthday, I can't send you a card. And one of the birthdays I was unaware of is Frank's tomorrow. So dear Frank, you will get a card a bit late from West Hill saying we're thinking of you. Anyway, thank you.
This abundant blessing.
We share the joy.
We share the joy.
And somebody please take down Barb's birthday so she gets a card as well, because that could very easily be left out. Yes. We shall all send her one, just pelt her with Chris, and then Vilma.
Okay.
You're on mute, Chris.
Gosh, sorry, press my space bar. That's better. Yes, you may remember that last week I said I was going in for a hernia operation on Wednesday. I'm pleased to report that that all went very well. And I'm now in far less pain than I thought I would be, which is a good thing. The other thing was that as I was about to leave, and it was same day, I didn't have to stay overnight. The nurse who came to check my medication told me that I had been very popular with the staff. I'm not quite sure why, but she said, not only are you the oldest one we've had today, and I'm 78, but you're also the healthiest. So that was a great boost to my self-confidence. And talking of birthdays, as you're anxious to know, I'm sure, when mine is, you'll be delighted to hear it's on American Independence Day, or the 4th of July, which I arranged specially when I knew that I was coming on here. No, that's true. That's my real birthday. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. We will celebrate your birthday. Half of the continent will celebrate with fireworks, which would be beautiful.
Yeah, well, that'll do fine. Yes,
that'll do fine. Okay. And Vilma.
Yes. Last week, last weekend, yes, Sunday. That was Father's Day. Anyway.
Little closer to your microphone, Vilma.
Oh, all right. Yeah, microphone. It's been a month almost since both Claude and I had our second vaccination. So we felt quite confident getting together with our son and his partner and his 2 kids. And we haven't done that. We haven't seen the children, those grandchildren for, I don't know, a long time in person. So it was so nice to have our own patio lunch. And really enjoyed that very much. They've had at least 1 vaccination, and they had the second one just a few days ago. So that was really nice. We were able to wear a mask when we needed to, and take them off when we didn't have to, because, as I said, we had our own outdoor patio lunch. So in this abundant blessing,
we share the joy.
Share the joy.
And the other thing is, the youngest one, she graduated from grade 6. And so they had a virtual graduation where they would just drive through and she got her certificate. So that was another abundant blessing.
Thank you, Vilma, very much.
Okay.
George. Unmute, George, and we will hear you better.
Sorry.
No trouble.
On now?
Yep, you're good.
So 2 bits of good news is I got my second shot, but with the what is it? The one with a funny name anyway that everyone's always controversial about whether they should use it. Well, I got 2 shots of those. The better news was that Eileen and I sold a condo we owned in Vancouver, so now I can spend a little money, go wild at the store. The bad news is, and most people have heard this story, is I'm dealing with 5 major illnesses, and they're winning, so that's not so good. And that's why it's mute.
That's we celebrate with your celebrations, and we hold you with the heaviness of that. You've struggled in, as you say, in many directions, and those directions collide with each other as well. Yeah. They're not just separate. So we are with you in this our time of need.
May love abound.
Thank you, George.
Thank you.
John.
Scott, I saw an item on Twitter today that related to Canada. A person who would want to normally celebrate Canada Day, which I believe is Thursday, was not feeling at all like that because of all the terrible news about the way Indigenous children have been treated. And so I was just thinking about the mixed feelings that many Canadians will have over the treatment of Indigenous children. While on the one hand, while on the other, there will be an opportunity and pressures perhaps to celebrate Canada Day, a day of mixed feelings. So just thinking of Canadians.
Thank you. Thank you, John.
Let's just keep on that for a moment. We've been thinking long and hard on that, and I was thinking of the idea of being grounded in the interconnectedness of life, and when it's such hard reality that we are connected with, you know, we struggle to keep our eyes open, our ears open, our hearts open. It's things we don't want to hear, but when we take that stand to say we will acknowledge how interconnected we are, then we are part of the pain, we are part of the shame. And it doesn't mean we did it, but we live in a country that did, and many other countries do similarly. And I think that's being bandied about in international sections. People have been talking about that, and so do we shoulder that? Yes. Thinking of Canada Day, we don't celebrate a country we live in because of it being a better country than some other country, or that it's my country right or wrong. It's not that. What we celebrate is that many have been able to put together a place to live that has much goodness in it. But the reality is there's also much hardship in it. And so what we celebrate, or at least what I'm suggesting we celebrate when we celebrate Canada, is not the the boundaries or the whatever, but it's every bit of goodness. And there is goodness coming forward about this in response to this. And that's worth celebrating, because people are being open and honest enough about it to claim it and shoulder it and look at it square on and see what can we do. And I think that's one of the main questions about Canada. What can we do to fix what happened? You stand there in some sort of despondency about it. And I think that's something to do about it. I think to feel it is a part of what we do about it, to not take it lightly. And then again, to not take it to the exclusion of focusing on what can be done now, which is the only time we have, is now, and the next moment, and the next moment, and the next moment to do. And so we encourage everyone, if you're not Canadian, on the screen here, you're hurting with us. And I also encourage you to celebrate every time you hear something being done about it. Our 95 calls to action are pathetically under-attended to. And if this can maybe urge some more action in that direction, then that's what we want to be behind. So whatever you do with that, to write, to vote, to shop, the way you do things, come in line with that to make Canada better about what it realizes about itself and what it can do about itself. So in this, our time of need, may love abound. Is there any other sharing to be done? I'm looking at a couple of screens, but please let, is that Ingrid? You have your hand up. Looks like Walter's hand, but
not to worry. She'd put her hand up if she were here right now. Every Sunday, there's a part of the Toronto newspaper. You can see the TO in dark, and it's Toronto Together. For those of you who don't get it, but like to read things about which we are speaking, this does a pretty good job every Sunday. One right now on the back page, we're talking about Floyd Kuptana. He's an artist, an Inuit artist, moved from the Inuit area into the beaches area here in Toronto. And then the story about him and his struggles, quite well done. There are other things, of course, within the 8 pages that are folded together here. If you can get a hold of this on Sundays frequently, you'll be right on top of what we're doing. It says together, and then over in the corner, it's celebrating people and places. So it's a very excellent read every Sunday morning. Sets me right up for being here with all of you.
If any of you ever run out of something to read and wonder what might you next read that's interesting, get a hold of the Shoulderses. They are the greatest referrals of wonderful, important, encouraging things to read. Keep referring us to them, Shoulderses, and anyone get in touch with them if you'd like something. Anyone else? I'm looking at the screens. David, is that a signal to, yes?
That is, yes.
It's an interesting signal. I didn't quite interpret it correctly.
Well, that hand's got a bit of paralysis in it, so I don't know how to
I'm sorry,
wait.
David. Gotcha.
It's okay.
Gotcha.
It's all right. I can live with that so far. Well, I've been particularly being touched over these last weeks about the residential school issues that we're reading. And the reason it hits me quite personally is that as a missionary's children whose parents were in Mexico during my childhood, I was sent home every year to school to live with initially individual people in their homes for 3 years. And then high school was spent at a, quote, residential school 16 miles northwest of Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. Now, I'm using the word residential school on purpose here because I resided there. But it certainly had absolutely no connection to the type of residential school that we're all hearing about now, at which, well, other Indian, Canadian, Indigenous children my age would have been attending. Of course, I'm only knowing this and learning this now. Throughout my life, I have resented strongly many of the things that, quote, happened to me during that period of my life when I had to be away from home 10 months of every year. I realized many people had worse, including all those Indian children. And I guess now I'm thankful for the kind of school that I happen to have to go to, and the care that that group of people did have over all us kids. That we just had no experiences remotely relating to anything that I'm hearing from all of these schools that the Indian kids were in. Forgive me, I keep using the word Indian because I grew up with that. I know that's no excuse. We also, as I said, my parents worked with the indigenous or Indian Aztecs of Mexico when I was a child. So I don't know. It's just been very, very difficult to read what those kids went through. Just nuts. Just nuts.
It's our time.
Heavy, the closer you can relate to something. And it doesn't mean you didn't have resentment about your situation as well. We don't take away from that, but yes,
no,
personal experience
doesn't take away from it. But
right,
there are now things I certainly can be thankful for when I hear theoretically what could have been.
Right, right.
And by the way, what did happen for many missionary children in even Christian-run missionary schools who had people who molested them in the dark hours of the night, etc. Even their own caregivers. So it's not that all the schools were properly run, pure and holy. They were not, but ours never had any of that kind of problem during the period I was there. Anyway.
I think David's raising something so important. Don't you sometimes just go into some sort of shock to think there's more adults in leadership positions over children that could not be trusted? It's a shocking reality. It blasts into your comfortable idea of nice grown-ups. If you grew up with that, some of you grew up with that. I did. Every grown-up we knew was nice. It doesn't mean they were good, but they were nice, and we didn't know any differently, and now we do. So it's a heavy load to carry. So whenever you can share something like that. Moreland, I see your hand there.
Well, actually, Don's been waiting longer than me.
I did not see him. There. Okay, thank you. Don, Moreland is inviting you in.
Oh, thank you, Marlon. I just wanted to share that I've been working on the census, which means going around visiting people who don't get around to completing their census. Most of them, it's just didn't get around to it. But it's also an opportunity to see a cross-section of society that we're not always familiar with. We talk to ourselves, and we sometimes think that the rest of the world is like us. It's not. There are individuals that I meet who are angry, who are disillusioned, and who even have some strange ideas. One of the most interesting one I met was a woman who said that she was no longer a citizen of Canada. She now belongs to Canada 2.0. And I'd never heard of Canada 2.0 before, but apparently in her world, Canada is governed by a new queen, Romana Di Giulio. And I actually found her on the internet when I looked up her name. And it really turns out that it's a group that holds, well, it deals in fake news. It doesn't trust any other reliable source that the rest of us disillusioned people do, like reading the Globe and Mail or the Toronto Star or listening to the CBC or whatever. There really are people who are totally disaffected. And it's an opportunity to mingle with those people, if you like, on a personal basis that we don't always get. And so I'm grateful for that opportunity because it helps us see the range of people that make up our society. So I share that just as perspective.
In this our time of need.
May love.
Moreland.
Yes, I'd like to thank John for opening up this whole issue and topic, because I think a number of people are sort of mentally prepared that this tragedy is going to reveal more and more ugly parts to it. And in thinking about this, and some people have called for the abolition of Canada Day or suspending it and so on. And I couldn't help but reflect upon a trip that Louise and I took down to Newfoundland many years ago. And Canada Day is celebrated in a somewhat unique fashion to the rest of the country, in that in the morning up until noon, Canada Day is a day of commemoration for all the Newfoundlanders of the Royal Newfoundland Regiment who were wiped out at Beaumont Hamel in 1916. And then time is taken to reflect upon that. And then afternoon, it becomes Canada Day, which we know. Maybe we could take that example from Newfoundland and maybe make the morning of Canada Day a day of reflection, a day of, in a sense, maybe a commemoration or a chance to recover or make amends for the past in some significant way. And then afternoon, we celebrate Canada Day as a festival. Just a thought. Maybe it's a discussion that this country needs to have. Thank you.
It makes solid sense, and it's not that we, everyone has to follow exactly that timeline, but to contain both and to take both seriously. Thank you for that, Moreland. That's a good example from the easternly portion of our country, who was already using the day to do both. So thank you, Moreland.
Scott, it's Mel.
Hello, Mel.
This just made me remember a family reunion that I was at. And my family are all refugees. Like my parents came to Canada as refugees. And they were given land in Saskatchewan, this whole big group. So we had a very large family, and we had this reunion. And one of my aunts, I was maybe 11 or 12 when this occasion was happening. One of my aunts got up and she told the story of how the family came to Canada and how welcoming Canada had been. And it was quite a nice long story. But in the end, she said, and now I want us to stand and sing, "O Canada, our home and native land." And you wouldn't believe it. It was sung with such reverence and in total unison, or not in unison, in harmony. And they would do anything for Canada because where they came from and what Canada did for them. So in this abundant blessing, let us celebrate Canada Day.
We share the joy.
We share the joy.
Share the joy. And I think that's where we're going to, no, Mike, your hand?
Thank you, Scott. I perhaps should have done this during announcements, but it's more of a celebration of sincere thanks and accolades, because on July 1st, Laura Bowes will be ending her long-term service with us over 10 years as giving financial oversight and support to our treasurer and to our finance group, making sure that we are in compliance with what's required by the Canadian Revenue Agency and the United Church of Canada, and helping our various treasurers along the way, Frank Kilroy and John McKechnie. And so I will be connecting personally with Laura to give our sincere thanks, but her long-term service and a lot of work and hours out of our awareness had to be done to keep us in good standing with a number of agencies. So as I said, I will be connecting with her and giving a personal thanks, but I would say to Laura Bowes for her long service in this abundant blessing.
We share
the joy. I'm going to be, yes, thank you. Yes, for that's good. Congratulations and appreciation expressed to things she does that I couldn't do to save my life. Many of us could not. I'm going to save the celebration part because we're going to be doing that during the perspectives. So I'm going to move now, if Peter could, to the words of commitment, which will be adorned this time by bamboo.
God, I don't know if Doug had his hand up. I don't know if he wants to.
I'm sorry, who?
Doug.
Doug. Okay, Doug, sorry.
Very, very briefly. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
When we sing, "Oh, Canada," think about this time when you sing it to sing "My Home on Native Land."
Ah, very nice move. My home on native land. Thank you, Doug. Thank you. And since that illustrates nicely the words of commitment, we'll move to them now. My home in the world.
As I
live every day, I want to be a channel for peace.
May I
bring love where there is hatred, and healing where there is hurt, joy where there is sadness, and hope where there is fear.
I
pray that I may always try to understand and comfort other people, as well as seeking comfort and understanding from them. Wherever possible, may I choose to be a light in darkness, help in times of need, and a caring, honest friend. And may justice, kindness, and peace flow from my heart forever.
Amen.
Amen. Deb, could you share with us the readings for this first section of the readings this morning?
Absolutely. So this first reading is from the work of the German Jewish American philosopher Hannah Arendt, who conducted research into anti-Semitism in Germany and was imprisoned by the Gestapo. Later, as an American citizen, she wrote on the nature of power, authority, evil, totalitarianism, and democracy. She coined the phrase, "the banality of evil," to emphasize that it is sometimes not noticed for its seemingly being so ordinary. And the quote is, "Education is the point at which we decide whether we love the world enough to assume responsibility for it, and by the same token, save it from that ruin which, except for renewal, except for the coming of the new and the young, would be inevitable. And education, too, is where we decide whether we love our children enough not to expel them from our world and leave them to their own devices, nor to strike from their hands their chance of undertaking something new, something unforeseen by us, but instead to prepare them in advance for the task of renewing a common world. And the second reading, Scott says, is almost like a song, an anthem, a rallying call to make a difference. And it's from the writings of Martin Luther King Jr. Join with the earth and each other to bring new life to the land, to restore the waters, to refresh the air, to renew the forests, to care for the plants, to protect the creatures, to celebrate the seas, to rejoice in the sunlight, to sing the song of the stars, to recall our destiny, to renew our spirits, to reinvigorate our bodies, to recreate the human community, to promote justice and peace, to love our children and love one another, to join together as many and diverse expressions of one loving mystery for the healing of the earth and the renewal of all life. Offered as wisdom for the journey, may we walk in its light.
In its light. Thank you, Deb. As I mentioned earlier, the theme of bamboo is going to take us to those three areas of care for the planet, care for other people, and care for our personal selves. And I wanted to ask Peter to start the slide, the supplementary slide that will illustrate these points. The first one is a troubling one. Evidently, the Brazilian president is being, the call has come for him to be investigated for crimes against humanity, but also a new word. His actions should be constitute a crime with a new word, and it's being called ecocide. The CIDE from the Latin and the Greek means to kill, and eco, of course, is the environment. And so this idea of ecocide, you may have bumped into it, I hadn't yet, that particular term. And so I wanted to talk today about what is being done and what needs to be done about that idea of renewing the earth and sustaining the earth and the people in it and ourselves. So the next slide is that idea, those three areas: the planet, the people, and the personal. And then the next slide, Peter, is the idea of sustainable, renewable, and we'll apply it to all those three areas. I've asked in the e-blast if you got it, and I will ask at a certain point if any of you have brought to the screen or can tell us about something bamboo in your own home. My notes are being held up by bamboo, which is good, and a lot is being held up by bamboo. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what's so great about it in general, and then do a little more detail. But why it is so supportive to the planet is it is grown without pesticides or chemical fertilizers, requires no irrigation, rarely needs replanting, grows rapidly and can be harvested in 3 to 5 years, grows in a wide range of environments, produces 35% more oxygen than an equivalent stand of trees, sequesters carbon dioxide and is carbon neutral, a critical element in the balance of oxygen and carbon dioxide, absorbs toxic substances, improves the quality of soil, is a soil erosion inhibitor, stabilizes slopes, produces fibers which has a lower environmental impact than other forms of fiber, and is used as a biofuel. I don't know anything else that has that many great qualities in that. And so I'm going to now tell you a bit more about that. And I'll just ask Peter to scroll the next batch of slides that are the most beautiful pictures of bamboo plants of all different colors and all different, because we're looking at what bamboo does for the planet. And so just as you wish, Peter, scroll through that. And if I'm still talking, then just scroll again. But I hope I put enough. That is a picture of the rhizome. That is the way bamboos grow, whether they're clumping bamboos or running bamboo. They come from rhizome, and you'll see the horizontal section gives rise to these buds that grow up and straight, and you can see it becoming a bamboo. And the next slide will show the shoot itself coming out of the ground. Sorry, that was a bit fuzzy. I tried to enlarge it. But if it's smaller than that, it tastes good. If it gets much bigger than that, it doesn't. But that's the shoot, as they call it, bamboo shoot. If you want some fun, go online and look up time-lapse photography of a bamboo shoot growing. You will be amazed at how fast it grows. Well, of course, in time lapse, it looks like it's growing fast, but they'll tell you how many seconds and how many minutes have gone by, and that will be good. So just continue to scroll, Peter, these beautiful pictures of bamboo. They are some of the fastest growing plants in the world. There are almost 1,500 species of them. They cover more than 31 million hectares of land in the world. They reach maturity in 3 years, and most trees take 20 years or 30 years to grow to maturity so they can be used. It grows about 2 inches per hour, 2 inches per hour. So you can actually watch the bamboo grow. And the height it can reach is 60 feet in 3 months, 60 feet in 3 months. It has nodes. I have one here. Glenn nicely put them in an arrangement for me, but I'm just going to show you this. You know this, but the nodes in a bamboo are the places where it attaches like this, and then the internodes are here. I love bamboo. And this is solid, but in between this is hollow, and that's what gives it part of its strength and versatility. And it's so renewable. It is also, it also protects the oxygen and the carbon dioxide in the earth within its lifespan. And it is successful at, I'm just reading these facts because they're so incredible, successful at absorbing wastewater from agriculture, from industry, from animal breeding and pollution, and can clean up polluted soils better than any other plant at all. It also binds the soil, plays a protective role in decreasing the degradation of soil, which is so important to cultures all over, and reducing soil nutrient depletion. Bamboo charcoal has an important role, I think we'll see a picture of that later, in enhancing nutrient absorption. And it improves the strength of the soil to when I said soil erosion and stability of slopes, which is so important. I wonder if that's a picture of the bamboo flowering, which is not often seen. It only flowers once in its lifetime. And okay, next slide, Peter. I think there's Negress bamboo, which is black, which is absolutely beautiful. Have you seen that? Next. And that's another flowering of bamboo. Mostly, we've never seen those. And so just to wrap up those pictures, oh, that's fair. That's the end of those pictures. Thank you, Peter. The next slide, we move to the idea of people and what it has done for people on the planet. In many cases, people will never meet. And the next slide shows those two ideas, the sustainable and the renewable idea of what bamboo does. And I had no idea till I got into this, and I've just gobbled up every book on bamboo. This is my favorite. It's a beautiful book by a fellow, a gardener, and a lot of information on there that really blew my mind on that. The idea of the use of bamboo alleviating poverty, of creating jobs, of improving creativity and innovation among people that thought there was no reason to do that, and to build the community. It's used in almost 1,500 types of products. And that's because, number one, it is strong. It is strong, and we're going to use that with the idea of ourselves, but it's strong because of the thickness of the fiber. It's a very unusual fiber, and it has a diameter. Some of them are huge, some of them are small, but it's the fiber inside, and it's a good kind of fiber. It's also flexible. And some things are strong and not flexible, and some things are flexible and not strong, but it's flexible and strong. It's also beautiful. It's a beautiful way to use products in architecture, in designing, and it's split. It used to be just local artists building things that they needed out of bamboo, but it has exploded in the fashion industry and in the architectural industry which is very good. And the other aspect of bamboo, it's edible, and it's been used for years and years and years for people to eat the shoots and for animals to eat them too. And we'll look at a slide of that as well. It's made into flour, pasta, meat products, cheese, yogurt, and bread. And of course, the animal that eats it is the panda, but it's also the African golden monkey and the mountain gorilla, and especially the panda bear that we said. And it also brings medicine. Now, I'm going to ask you if you brought anything to the screen. I think the Lovitts can't bring it to the screen because it's in your garden, I understand. But have you a picture of somebody that's got something to do with, I think, Doug, do you have a bamboo structure behind you there? I believe you do.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, very cool. And there's chopsticks. Thank you for Walter and his chopsticks. And there's Suzanne, a beautiful cutting board for Michael there. And let me just look at the screen. The Lovitts, could you tell us about your garden?
Well, I'm holding up a bamboo chopping board, but in the garden, we have these amazing plants, which we grew from seeds, which are, well, they're like the sort of slither of a fingernail, really. They're such tiny seeds. And now the plants are just 3 or 4 feet high. Awesome.
So we in Canada can hardly grow bamboo, but you over in England and Devon are able to grow it, which is lovely. You're facing the right way. I'm looking at Karen holding up some bamboo products there. Let me just take a look at that. If you want to tell us what they are, Karen.
I have 2 pair of pants that are made of bamboo. Socks are made of bamboo, and this piece of bamboo came from my friend's garden.
Oh, lovely. And you're in New Mexico, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
You're warm enough. You are warm enough. Yes. Thank you, Karen.
Yes.
I have a back scratcher.
David has a back scratcher. Very good. Very useful. Very useful.
To all, these cutting boards are made of bamboo. They're quite excellent cutting boards, and they routinely come on sale at Canadian Tire for 75% off. I'm not shilling for Canadian Tire, but they make a good bamboo cutting board.
I'm glad. Thank you for that, and a Canadian store to boot. So that's a good idea. And anyone else that I've missed, if you brought something, I don't want to miss anybody.
We have a floor of bamboo that was put in, but it scratches. So that's, I have to say, I'm sorry, there are a few things that aren't perfect.
Yes.
And
yes.
it's very hard to install for the installer because it's so hard.
It's so hard. You're quite right, Louise.
But it's still here, and we walk on it. It's good.
We sympathize with your scratches. Yes.
Scott.
Yes, Walter.
Bamboo grows naturally here in Ontario. We have it in the Highland Creek ravine just beside, not far from the church. And bamboo in Coburg is looked upon as an invasive species, and it's being eradicated in parking lots and things like that. We have our own species of bamboo. We're aware of all the things we can do with it, except I don't believe I've ever eaten any of our Ontario bamboo shoots.
So, something to look forward to. Yeah, I did not know that. So thank you for that very, very much. I have a series of slides that I'm going to go through too quickly, but I'm meaning them for you to just get a sense of the people around the world that are doing things to if I've missed anyone, please notify me. The idea of doing something for the environment, and I'll tell you really quick. So it almost looked like a movie. It's going to go by so quickly, but I just want to give you that taste. These are bamboo plants growing in the hilly area of Cameroon to restore degraded landscapes. Next. The Inter-Africa Bamboo smallholder farmers are developing programs to do tools with in the disadvantaged rural communities. Next. Innovation and promotion of bamboo through action research processes for resilient agriculture. This is a group that's doing it in Colombia, but also Ecuador and Peru, exploding the environmental benefits of bamboo. Next. This is a group in Ecuador that's supporting the development of sustainable domestic and international trade in bamboo and rattan, which is a related product. Next. Forest landscape restoration through private sector community partnerships with governments in Thailand and Vietnam. I couldn't find a slide for the next, and maybe it was important that there wasn't a picture, but there are people helping the reintegration of ex-combatants into everyday society using the bamboo growing and helping them get gardening work. Next. Bamboo for sustainable post-disaster reconstruction in Nepal. This is a picture of a government-built school with bamboo and earth. Next, bamboo for climate-smart landscapes in Chisui, Guizhou province of China. And they're partnering with Switzerland. And I noticed this over and over again, that other countries were partnering that you wouldn't even think would be together with this. Next picture, a bamboo structure in Bhutan for sustainable construction. This is a pilot project which they're hoping people catch on to. The next picture is that charcoal I mentioned, production for biomass energy and utilization for water purification, which we all know about charcoal, but that used to be bamboo. And then a great big picture of the friendly little bamboo eater. And of course, we also mentioned with the monkeys and other things that supply the food for this. An interesting one next, they are trying to replace bamboo to take the place of tobacco farming for health reasons and for whatever, but it's more sustainable. So he's wearing the t-shirt, the sweatshirt there, Stop Tobacco. The next one is a picture of craft being made in the World Heritage series of keeping people's cultures alive with native products. And the next picture is a very happy man who is growing bamboo in his area in Ethiopia to mitigate land degradation. And that's so hopeful for them. The next slide is a picture, Doug had it too, is a scaffolding built. I don't know, when you see bendable bamboo, I know there are very hard and strong bamboos, but these are very brave people walking out on bamboo, and I know it's absolutely safe. The next is a picture of a bridge, which I would not walk on. I'm just telling you, afraid of heights as I am. There's ones that are higher up. Maybe I'd walk on that one, but that looks solid. Then another little slide just to show you the number of products that can be made from bamboo, and some of them are very useful. And some of them are decorative, which is beautiful as well. But that's that creativity and innovation that it because it's available. It can grow so fast. It's renewable. It's there. They can use it. One of my favorites is the bamboo bike, and the next picture is someone making one. The bamboo bike. They are as sturdy and useful as any other means. And I got two more pictures of a bike. The next and the next are pictures of by a bamboo bike near what looks like a traveler's palm there, and then very nice looking bamboo bike there. If you Google bamboo bike, you'll see all sorts of manufacturers that are making them, and all sorts of people riding them all through areas where cars are not as plentiful and where cars shouldn't be as much as plentiful. So the bamboo bike. So those are products, and you've all seen them. We've seen more of the sort of designing ones and useful ones, but what I was trying to show there is people are doing it to save the soil and save the land and save people and give people jobs that where they're making things with their hands, where they're making things with natural products, which is just such a reason to celebrate. The whole idea of bamboo can do that. And so as much as sometimes I just want to show you some great things that should prompt in this abundant blessing that we would share that joy with these people. But I also wanted to bring it down into the personal in more of a metaphoric way. So the next slide is just that idea of the personal. The idea, and the next slide again, is the personal, the idea of sustaining oneself and renewing oneself. And I think that during this time of COVID, they're calling it COVID fatigue. And as we often say here, everything that was difficult before is just more difficult, most likely more difficult during COVID with the restrictions and the news that's difficult. And so how important it is to take a sort of a riff off the idea of bamboo about sustaining ourselves and renewing ourselves. Sustain has the idea of surviving, and renewing has the idea of thriving, of coming alive again. And sometimes I know that people on the screen that have worked real hard at a portion of their life or right now just to sustain, just to hold their own. And that's a hard thing to do when there's trouble around you, when there's trouble within you, when you're struggling with emotions, when you're struggling psychologically, struggling with family, struggling with relationships that you just want to be so different and they're not. And so that idea of sustaining yourselves through difficulties is a really hard thing. The word perseverance is one I often use at work, to persevere through when you're just sustaining, just holding your own. And you spend another day and you've held your own. You spend another hour and you've held your own. It's a remarkable thing. And it takes that strength that the bamboo shows, and also the flexibility to move through difficult things and still hold yourself, and then to renew and to do those things. And we'll talk about that in a minute, to do the things that bring you new life and better life. So I'm going to use that metaphor right now and ask Deb to join in this section. And I'll ask her first to read the quote from Elaine N. Aron in a book I've been reading lately, The Highly Sensitive Person. Deb?
A teacher of meditation once told the story of a man who wanted nothing to do with the stress of life. So he retreated to a cave to meditate day and night for the rest of his life. But soon he came out again, driven to overwhelming distress by the constant sound of water dripping in the cave. The moral is that, at least to some extent, the stresses will always be there.
If you've ever had the experience of escaping something and think, now I'm okay, and all of a sudden the water dripping or something heavier than that comes to you, and there is no escape. And that's the idea of sustaining. And then the idea of flexibility, and that's the song that Babette sang for us, the idea of when you feel knocked over, and it could be by something, it could be by a diagnosis. We've heard that from some of our folks. And it could be by someone you love, and it could be by someone you don't love. And it could be by your own self that you've knocked yourself over. And the ability, they use this in a lot of paintings of bamboo, where the snow falls on the leaves and mounts up on the leaves, and they get heavier and heavier and heavier. And then just as it gets a little too heavy or the snow melts, it falls off and the leaf springs back. So the idea of springing back in the middle of adversity, the idea of saying, I feel defeated, but I will not be defeated forever. I will spring back. And the same idea with the wind, with some wind knocks trees over, that if they're very stiff and very old, but the bamboo, if you've seen pictures of the wind or you stood beside, I love the feeling of standing beside a grove of bamboo in most of the ones I've met are in botanical gardens. And if the culms are, the trunks are very close together, they will creak. And you could stand there and listen to the wind in the leaves and the creaking of the culms. It's very, very restful. And that idea of the wind blowing and of them moving, that flexibility. Deb, if you could read the quote by a lawyer, a politician, a religious leader named James Faust.
Sure. Without question, we need to be informed of the happenings in the world. But modern communication brings into our homes a drowning cascade of the violence and misery of the worldwide human race. There comes a time when we need to find some peaceful spiritual renewal.
And that's, we've talked about this before. What generation hears more about the troubles in the world than this one because of social media? And so Faust is saying, it's true. And we need to we're interconnected with life. We need to keep open and learn. But we also know that we are human beings that are hearing more than ever human beings have heard. It matters, we care, but care of self. In order to remain flexible, we need to be able to change channels and move into what we're going to talk about in a moment, about that nurturing and about that taking care of the soil and taking care that soils don't degrade in our lives, our own nurturing, that our slopes are protected and we're not sliding down every single one of them. That whatever that takes, whatever is, if it's a person you need to be with more, if it's a book you need to read more, if it's quiet you need more, take it, do it. Don't just think it's a good idea, like many of us do about exercise, a wonderful idea. I really don't do it very much. But nurture of self is incredibly critical, especially right now, to do those things, to self-care, which is completely not selfish and it's not self-absorbed. It's self-respect and compassion for self. And don't say you think about justice and compassion for everyone else if you don't think about it for you. You've just excluded yourself from the human race, and you can't not do that. You're in. So the idea of that swing, that flexible, that removing from, it doesn't mean you don't care about those things, to take a time of saying, I'm not even going to think about it. I'm going to watch the trees wave in the breeze. I'm going to eat something really delicious. I'm going to watch something funny on the television. I'm going to do whatever gives me that break and that nurturing. And I'm going to talk with someone that fills me with joy. I'm going to learn something great. So the other part of that is to the bamboo shows that that we get fixed in our thoughts and we hurt ourselves by being rigid. And then some of you are very flexible people, but I'll bet there's something you're very rigid about. I just found a rigidity in myself that I didn't think of as rigidity. I thought of it as being right. I was very right. I was completely right on this issue. I had no need to learn anything else because, of course, as I mentioned, I was right. But I didn't see that as rigidity. I saw it as firmness and confidence. You know that? And so I'm just generally suggesting that all of us on the screen that are firm and confident still might be holding something rigidly in our thinking, and the bamboo and the swaying of that, the flexibility of that would suggest that maybe we might be able to learn something. It's horrible learning something because you realize you've been wrong. It's just horrible for a moment. And then you accept, you embrace it and say, now it's mine. Now it's my thought. I've just seen the light of that, and it's my thought. If I can ask Deb to read the next quote by John Donahue, an Irish poet and priest, a philosopher and author.
Sure. We put terrible pressure on our minds. When we tighten them or harden our views or beliefs, we lose all the softness and flexibility that makes for real shelter, real belonging, and protection. Sometimes the best way of caring for your soul is to make flexible again some of the views that harden and crystallize your mind. For these alienate you from your own depth and your own beauty.
To be firm, good. To be hardened and rigid, not so good. To be open to an idea, and again, we have hidden prejudices, hidden ideas that have gotten rigid over time, and I love that idea of the bamboo moving us to be flexible about that, to understand that strong also requires flexibility. The other thing that a bamboo is really, really known for, more than many plants, and actually Walter just reminded me of that, which is that it is found in many, many, many climates, and I love it's just, you know, England, jealous as we are of your climate there in the south, that palm trees and bamboo grow there, but it can endure fairly hard winters and extremely hot summers. and it can be left standing after even typhoons and hurricanes. It's not as fragile as it may appear. It goes through it can live through different kinds of events. And I'll ask Deb to read the quote from the American author and journalist and producer, David Simon.
Transitions are a part of life, allowing for perpetual renewal. When you experience the end of one chapter, allow yourself to feel the emotions of loss and of rebirth. A bud gives way to a new flower, which surrenders to the fruit, which gives rise to a seed, which yields a new sprout. Even as you ride the roller coaster, embrace the centered internal reference of the ever-present witness.
Thank you, Deb. The idea of what you can love about bamboo in the natural environment, but also that it can be made into things, and it can go through a process, and it can get finished, it can get refined. And that's the idea. I think 3 Sundays ago, we talked about composing your own life, and what a scary thing to think you're responsible for composing your own life, and what a wonderful, liberating idea to remember that you're composing your own life. And then we talked about women from the 15th century that as they were composing their life, they looked differently than the people around them at something, often at a difference. They look differently at difference. And that's what we're called to do all the time, to look differently at others, at ourselves, at something that's different than we're comfortable with or used to expand that part. And every time you grow like that, you're just getting bigger and bigger inside. I say quickly inside. Some of us are trying not to do that outside. But the idea of working with something, and that's what we do together. So the idea of the personal, sustain the perseverance through the hard times. I know there's people on the screen today that could look at someone else on that screen and say, you helped me sustain myself through a very hard time. And there's also people I know that could look at the people on the screen and say, I hope I've been able to sustain you through a hard time. What more beautiful thing can we offer to, and sometimes it's just saying, I'm here, you matter, I'm with you. I so grieve that you're going through this. I'm with you on that. And sometimes I was going to say a hand on a shoulder or but even a smile on a screen, or just grieving with someone on a screen, that idea of helping us sustain each other, and whatever it takes for you to sustain, to persevere, to be flexible enough to take the next hour and the next hour, and to look out at people. And my mom always used to say that, and she probably was quoting something, that the person that needs your warmth and smile the most are the ones with the least to give back to you. And so if you see someone that's, looking like that, of course, I've been told my resting position of my face looks a bit glum, you say so, but I'd be happy for you to share something warm with me anyway. But the idea of passing that on, even if you're not getting that back, is a beautiful thing to help people with. And the idea of renewal. A bamboo needs light, and we often take that as a metaphor for truth and wisdom. So as much light as you can put in your life by reading, by sharing, by watching a YouTube, by watching a documentary, by reading a novel, by sharing with a friend something that happened to them. Even when people share on the screen things that have happened to them, that can be light and truth, something you hadn't thought before. Bamboo needs water. They need the living to assuage the thirst. So whatever is dry for you, you're composing your life. So compose some liquid, some nourishment, some drink, some wisdom in, some fun in, some warmth in. Good soil. Bamboo needs good soil. I hope that West Hill is good soil for you. I hope that planting yourself here once in a while or all the time is good soil for you to nurture in. I hope you get something out of being together. I know I do. Every single time, from what is shared, from your presence here, So the nurture, the good soil, and find it wherever, find it on a walk in the park, find it on a travel log you're watching on your screen, find it in a phone conversation with someone, that good soil, that nurture. Some people you're with aren't that, and you're the good soil for them. And that could be, and then there's also mutual, which is perfect. And then the other thing that bamboo needs is knowledgeable nurture. You can blow it with the plant if you don't know enough about the plant. You could give it the wrong water, the wrong light, the wrong everything. I do it all the time. And I'm very sad about it. And almost to be told that I shouldn't bring another plant in the house for a while now. So, okay. So I've been trying to do that. But the idea of knowledgeable care of oneself so that one can be both strong and flexible is that call to compose your life with good things. And whenever time we say the words of commitment, it's committing yourself to those values and actually finding the practical ways to do that. That is a lifelong, as we heard from Jean last week, a lifelong endeavor and privilege. So the idea of the strong and flexible, the idea of sustaining and renewing for the planet, for all the good that bamboo does and everyone does to take care of our home, our earth. And then for people everywhere, for every one of you that's using bamboo instead of another product made in another way, that's a good thing. There's lots of beautiful products, but if you can buy it with bamboo or get it with bamboo, then that's a good thing there too. There's problems with that industry as well as with every problem. And then the people, those people, I only took like some of the enormous number of people that are now working with dignity and productivity because of bamboo and because people invested in that, because people invested their time and their resources, their money and their trust in a new burgeoning idea. But honestly, Google it, you'll be amazed. You'll be absolutely blown away by the number of things that are being done. So people that will never know are being helped that way. And then the personal part about sustaining oneself with whatever helps you. It might not be the same as other people. And then the idea of renewing. And when we do say those words of commitment, we are renewing our pledge to live that way. We're also reminding ourselves that we haven't in some of those areas. And that's being flexible about yourself too, that humble idea. Sometimes we're very rigid about how good we are too. And sometimes we're very rigid about how bad we are. And so that flexible balance in there that is taught by that bamboo. I'm going to ask Deb to read the last quote by the French philosopher, Henri Bergson.
To exist is to change. To change is to mature. And to mature is to go on creating oneself endlessly. I love that.
I heard from Deb, I think that Leighton was on the screen and held up a bamboo. I didn't want to miss anybody. Thank you for bringing bamboo to the screen. Thank you for absorbing the facts and the amazing things done with that. And as that last quote says, go out into your week to change, to mature, to create yourself endlessly, and to encourage other people that are doing the same. Thank you for being together. Thank you, Peter, for your work with the PowerPoint. Thank you, Glenn, for the studio here that makes this all possible. Thank you to Dennis for putting us wider than that. Thank you, Debbie, for reading. Thank you for everyone that participated in this amazing family and this amazing idea of living the values out together. Have a good week. See you on Tuesday for wellness at 2 o'clock. See you at 10 o'clock, 30 o'clock. No, 10 o'clock. I get it wrong every time for coffee on Thursday. Join Mike for that and see you next week on Sunday. Connect with us during the week anytime you like. There's email, there's a Zoom possibility, whatever your needs, let us know. And as the World Bamboo Organization has in its motto, bamboo is growing, and so are we. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Scott, quick question for you about Thursday. Yeah. It's Canada Day. Will the coffee still be proceeding?
Let's see how many stay. If you'd like to stay for a moment of chat, please do. No. I'll stay.
Scott, the question was Thursday is Canada Day, July 1st.
Oh, that's the question. I misunderstood the question.
That's up to Mike. Prepared to welcome anybody that wants to join on Canada Day. It's always been flexible, come if you wish and leave when you must. So I'm quite prepared. If there are 4 or 5 or 6, that's fine. We often have 15 to 18, but Canada Day and coffee go together quite nicely.
Thank you, Mike, for that, for hosting that so affably and invitingly. So yes, you can celebrate Canada Day with Mike and others at 10 o'clock on Thursday. Okay. Again, thank you. Those of you far away, keep safe, do well, stay in touch with us. And those of you close by, soon, maybe we'll be together in the building. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
Scott.